Welcome to True Secrets of Life show. My name is Anna Lanier. I am a family relationship and antidepressant expert. And in today's show, we're going to debunk a few untruths about depression, as well as the connection between heartbreak, anxiety, and depression. In the first part of the show, we are going to talk about what depression is overall and how many people are mistaking depression with only one category of depressed people. In the second part of the show, we're going to talk about the link between heartbreak, anxiety, and depression, and how to make sure that you or your children never slip into any of these traps again. The reason why I call these conditions traps and not mental illness, specifically for anxiety and depression, of course, because everybody seems to deal with heartbreak in a way or another, is because they're not mental illnesses and they are traps. Nevertheless, they are like a labyrinth where anytime you want to escape, you just hit a dead end. And without the proper map, you can't get out. So what does this all mean? As I suffered from depression for 27 years of my life, and I have lost all my family to depression in a way or another, I can tell you that depression is deep mental and emotional pressure. Yes, in the definition of depression, it tells us exactly what depression is. Deep mental and emotional pressure. But it also tells us exactly how to fix it. To depressurize mental and emotional pressure, or what I call emotional wounds. Emotional wounds are a little bit more than just a simple worry, simple fear, or simple anger that everybody deals with in their life, and they know or they do not know how to handle it. Emotional wounds are just 5. And each one of them has to be fixed at a different level. So let's talk a little bit about it. First emotional wound that most people have at the deepest level is rejection. That has to do with shame and the feeling of not being good enough. This emotional wound gives a lot of times problems with sexual organs, with your fuel of life, more precisely with your level of energy, and a lot of time it is linked to cancer. The second emotional wound is the one of humiliation or embarrassment, and has a lot to do with feeling guilty deep down inside. A guilt you can't really pinpoint. It's very interesting as this emotional wound is connected to diabetes too, to pancreatic cancer, and to being overweight. The third emotional wound is the one of abandonment that has a lot to do with anger and a lot to do with blaming somebody for the abandonment. This emotional wound has to do with liver problems, gallbladder problems, all kind of hormonal problems, allergies, and also problems with weight, either too little weight or too much weight. These first 3 emotional wounds of depression are also what we call sometimes postpartum depression, because they arise immediately after a woman gives birth. Not all women suffer from postpartum depression. But if you are thinking of postpartum depression, is when you're thinking of all these three emotional wounds. And why this happens to women who have postpartum depression is because there is a child involved now. In the train of depression, which you have heard that it might be genetic, and it's actually generational, not genetic, the last one in line has to fix everything. So now practically the woman, the mother, has the opportunity of fixing these emotional wounds as they activate before her child slips into depression, sometimes at the age of 6, sometimes at the age of 12, sometimes later on in life. I want you to think of this as a train of pain. It's just exactly like a train of pain. This is what depression is. It's a generational condition most of the time. And it's just like a train. And the last one in line, the last one born, has to lift up all of the train, has to carry all of the train on his shoulders. It's exactly how people in depression feel, that the world is on their shoulders, that they have to carry things that don't belong to them. And it's true, these emotional wounds don't belong to them. They're coming from generations previous. So it's amazing sometimes how this intuition that we have when we carry pain, it's actually true in a different way. Now these three emotional wounds have to be fixed before the child that comes up suffers from it. Or if there is no child involved, the adult, the last one in line, has to fix them, because it's so easy to contaminate the other two emotional ones. The fourth one is heartbreak or betrayal. And this has to do a lot with relationships, relationship skills, and relationship mastery. Less you understand relationships at all levels, partners, children, family, friends, co-workers, more you can end up in this trap of heartbreak. And sometimes, because you didn't know how to fix the first three, you end up in this trap because you gave yourself heartbreak, because you just were unable to escape pain. But the last emotional wound is one of the most important ones of all. And there is a reason for that. We call it perfectionism or injustice, and has a lot to do with resistance. I want you to think of a door that goes down into your basement. Let's imagine you have a basement and you have a door, and at that door you open it up, and then you have to take 4 steps down. Very simple, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you do not open up that door because you're afraid of what's inside the basement, what is it going to happen? A lot of bad things can be in the basement, or a lot of good things can be in the basement. You would never know if you do not open up that door. You would not know what needs to be cleaned up and what needs to be saved. And this is exactly what the wound of perfectionism, injustice, and resistance does. It keeps that door blocked. And as long as the door is blocked, you cannot go to the basement to see what needs to be thrown out, the pain that you don't need, and what you need to keep, the love and the light in your soul. It's quite simple. Without opening that door, without going through the path of non-resistance, of acknowledging that you don't know anything about the world except to suffer. People in depression end up as victims. And they end up with all these 5 emotional wounds. It's what we call today suicidal thoughts and suicidal tendencies. Because they have no way of escaping. They have no way of healing. They have no way of listening. The perfectionism, the injustice, and the resistance stop them from opening the door to start their healing journey. And a lot of times, they're victims and they're totally lost. Now, not everybody has all these 5 emotional wounds. When you do have all these 5 emotional wounds, you're clearly suicidal. But most people have only 3. We call those either postpartum depression or just simple depression. Right? Any of the 3 will do in depression. And if you have 4, you are a little bit deeper in depression. But when you have 4, you're a lot more motivated to get out than number 3 or number 5. The reason being that you know exactly deep down by your intuition where it leads you. It only leads you to number 5. And then you cannot listen anymore because of too much pain. And you already been through stages 1, 2, 3. You already haven't succeeded to fight it. So number 4, when you have all these 4 emotional ones, it doesn't matter which one of the 4. That is the path that you can take for fixing it. It's when you know that everything you tried before didn't work. And you can't close the door anymore of perfectionism and play the game of the basement is not there. I don't want to know what's inside there. Because you know exactly where it leads you. And 1 million people today die by suicide. Every single year. I know this was not an easy subject, but stay with me so I can explain the connection between anxiety, heartbreak, and depression in our second part of the show.
Today, many young adults struggle with anger, anxiety, and signs of depression, and they are confused about what's happening to them. On the other side, parents are desperate, realizing that meds and therapy are not going to help their child achieve success in life. Visit TrueParentingSecrets.com to discover accelerated strategies to help your young adult overcome anger, anxiety, and depression. Regain your child's trust and help them unleash their true potential. Visit TrueParentingSecrets.com. Set your child up for success in life.
It was the best decision I ever made for me and for my child.
Visit TrueParentingSecrets.com.
Are you struggling with a constant battle of healthy relationships? Are you looking for love only to find heartbreak and betrayal? Would you like to be loved and to be happy? Visit TrueLoveSecrets.org to discover the secrets of true love. Learn how to attract the true love you deserve and never be hurt again. A life without love is a sad life. Visit TrueLoveSecrets.org. Discover how to find true love in your present or future relationships.
How does this all emotional wounds link together? First thing that we need to understand is that anxiety and heartbreak, separate, are symptoms of depression. Yes, anxiety and heartbreak separate are symptoms of depression. Anxiety plus heartbreak equals depression. Looking at the 5 emotional wounds, I want you to look at the first one, the one that has to do with rejection, shame, and not feeling good enough. And to the door that we talked about, the perfectionism, the injustice, and the resistance. These 2 together is what gives people anxiety. Now, because they are at the beginning and at the end of a staircase, they're really hard to fix because that door does not want to unlock